surviving like everybody else in these crazy, bizarre times.
Awesome, buddy. I'm just gonna pull up your name here so everybody knows your stuff. Anyway,
Sure.
dude. Yeah, it's been a little while, and now we are here back together. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. We are. Thank you so much for coming here last minute because we had another guest, and they had to reschedule until Sunday, and I messaged you last night and I said, Toby, can you please save my butt? And you're like, absolutely, man. So from the bottom of my heart, this is the first time you have actually saved me. I've seen you save Sailor Moon a zillion times, but
Oh,
now I am saved as well.
believe in yourself, Ryan Stick.
Okay, so dude, take me back. We have a whole bunch of fan questions and stuff like that. But
Sure.
take me back. Like, how does one get this job? You know, like you have a famous mom. You kind of grew up around the business, but how does Toby Proctor become Tuxedo Mask exactly?
Well, the story goes kind of like this. I'll truncate it because it's kind of a neat one though. I when I was I had been an actor since I was a little kid, but I had never done voice work, and I wasn't really great at reading. In fact, it was kind of terrified me. Cold reading wasn't. It was really not my thing. And there was a woman in Toronto doing voice technique courses at Nelvana, a woman named Tracy Moore. And she was a family friend for many years, but I didn't really know what she had done. And I guess she had done Care Bears and all the like. Amazing, amazing woman. And she was teaching this microphone technique course, and I was asked to kind of be a part of it. It was only about I think maybe 6 or 8 people, and I was asked to do it. And at the time I didn't have 2 cents to rub together. My dad lent me like $250, and I think it was once a week for 6 weeks kind of thing. And it was at Nelvana, the original studio on Atlantic in Toronto, where a lot of great Care Bears and all that stuff was made. And I went into the booth for the first time, and I fell in love with it. But I also got terrified because then I realized most of the job, if not 90% of the job, is reading, and reading in front of people cold. So that was something. But I walked away from my first session thinking it was worth the go, like worth it. We'll see. And then the second time out, I guess it might have been, it might have been the first or second time, but basically after our second session, Tracy pulled me aside and said, look, if you work on your reading, because I know you struggle with that, if you work on your reading, you can make your entire career voice work. And being a young guy at the time, I was like, sure, whatever. But, I listened to her and she said, what I want you to do is I want you to get the paper delivered to your house.
Oh wait, say that one more
You read
time.
aloud every morning.
Say
Just,
that. Say
yep,
that one more time, Toby.
yep.
Queen Beryl used the Negaverse to suck up enough energy of my bandwidth just to cut off that last sentence. So just say that one
What
last
about
one again.
the newspaper? Yes.
Yeah, the newspaper.
Yeah, I'll get it. Anyways, so
What? What happened? Oh, look at this stuff
Well,
happening.
speaking of the
There you
newspaper,
go.
there we
he
go.
is. There he's back. He's back. Yay, Nesbitt. Yay,
Yeah. That's good
yeah.
news
Okay.
indeed.
All
Yeah,
right.
little parallel
I
there.
took an intergalactic break there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. So Tracy Moore said, get the paper delivered to your house, and read it aloud to work on your, eye to mouth coordination and really work on it. And I did, and I got my reading to a fairly good spot. And then one day, my agent texted me and said, "Hey, you have an audition for something." I said, "Sure. What is it?" Said it's a voice. Okay. So I went down to this place on Mutual Street, McClear Path A. It was the studio the auditions were at, and I went down, and there was nothing to look at. Usually there's like a line drawing of the character or whatever. And all they had for me to do was there was a paragraph to read, and there was a recording of somebody. And they said, we don't want you to sound like exactly like this, just something like it, the cadence, kind of the flavor. Can you do that? I'm like, sure. So I did my thing and I walked away. And I remember I was on my motorcycle at the time, and I had my pager, I think, for the very first day of my life.
Pager.
And all of a sudden the pager went off. Yeah, I know. Nearly swerved off the road because oh yeah, I forgot. It's on my hip. So I pulled over, got to a payphone, step in the 90s, and called my agent, and they said, hey, congratulations, you just got the job. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, the thing you auditioned audition for right now. I said, what do you mean? They said Sailor Moon. I said, that's great. What's Sailor Moon? And it turns out that 5 minutes later, I got Tuxedo Mask.
Wow.
And I didn't know it. And I didn't even know what it was. Even for a week after that, I was walking around saying I got this job, but I don't even know what it is. In fact, none of us did, really. We had no clue what we were stepping into.
Well, even the name.
So yeah, that's kind of how yeah. But then the crazy thing is, a week later, I auditioned for something else, and it was the lead of Flash Gordon, and I ended up replacing somebody else on that. And so basically in the space of a week, I landed Tuxedo Mask and then Flash Gordon all at one. And I'd never had it in my life.
It's funny. It's funny.
Cue the shaking of the knees.
It froze on you, but it froze on this, and that's a pretty great that's a really great standstill, because it just shows how well a week could go. So everybody, this is now the international sign for winning. Okay, because if you're gonna book, if you're just getting into business and you book 2 lead jobs, that is what you call like beyond like beginner's luck, if you want to call it.
That's a bona fide stone cold winning streak, I'd say.
My God. Okay, so all right, so you get in the booth and stuff like that. Tell me about the first time you see the stuff, because we all know, especially the anime fans out there, that unlike them animating to your voice, they are you are looking at this footage and you are trying to match it as fast as possible. So tell me about your first impressions seeing these strange superhero show, and looking at
not only the strange. Yeah, well, certainly not what was it, just strange superhero show. One of the major hurdles we first had to get over was how we actually voiced it, because it was a process called Rhythmaband, and it was basically where they handwrite on 35 millimeter clear film the dialogue. Everybody's dialogue is handwritten, and it's basically like professional karaoke. You see your sentence go by, right? And when the bar is here, that's when you stop talking, or when the bar comes, that's when you start, right? So that was like learning how to drive standard. All of a sudden, you're looking at a TV screen, reading your script, and then looking at this Rhythmaband projection. And it was kind of like Follow the Bouncing Ball, but a little bit more highly sophisticated. So that was crazy. So right there, I had already wanted new underwear and needed new pants.
Oh, that's not good, is it? But it is good too.
No. So anyways, yeah. So and then all of a sudden start to pop up. And first of all, it was the first time I heard of Tuxedo Mask or Darien or Prince Moonlight, or the Moonlight Knight, or Prince Darien. And basically, yeah, it was a little nuts because it was a lot to take in. There's 5 girls in the show as the leads, and Queen Beryl and Zoe Sight, and all these things that clearly had way more meaning than I was ready to understand.
Yeah. And
pretty neat stuff though.
I gotta say though, I believe his name is Roman, who was before you. You stepped up and you picked up
Reno Romano.
Reno Romano.
His name's.
I'm terrible of names. I'm terrible of names, everybody. But and every time
okay.
Every time I go up to bat, I just strike out when I when I try to bring up a name cold. But I will say, I was like listening as a fan of the show. I didn't notice they changed. Like you picked up it so well. You played the characters so well, and all my favorite episodes have you in it. So it's kind of like everyone's got to remember that you came in about episode 12, and then you did 50 episodes. That is such a massive amount of work. How long does it take for one to record 50 episodes of anything, let alone this?
Well, I was lucky because my schedule was a little crazy at the time, like I said, because I was doing Flash Gordon at the same time. So ideally, Tuesdays and Thursdays were my record dates for both shows. And I would basically record Tuxedo Mask from 9 to 12. At McClure Pathé, and then walk across the street to Studio 306 to do Flash Gordon the same afternoon, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I did that for about 6 months.
Wow. I want to bring up Flash Gordon. I have some images here. I really had to address this. The belly shirts. Now let's just talk about this look of Flash Gordon.
It may have because I had abs at that time, and maybe they modeled after me. I don't know.
I just thought this was such a funny plot device when it comes to the Flash Gordon. Like Mythos, usually he's like this ultra super cool football player, but this time around, he's kind of like a goofy guy that hangs out in an arcade, has a skateboard. He's a different, more lighthearted Flash Gordon, and so he shows up to this place. And then this scientist guy assumes there's somebody else, doesn't even ask questions, sees sees the belly shirts, and then immediately says, "Hey, why not we go to space?" You know?
Yeah, how does a belly shirt lead to that conclusion?
Why don't we go to space? Come to space with me. Anyway, I was rewatching the first episode this morning, but I love that Flash Gordon show. It was so cool. That intro song is great with the guitars and that crazy Primus style bass line. Like, which character did you enjoy playing more? Because Darian was always super serious. I can't remember stuff. Save yourself, Sailor Moon.
Oh,
Believe. And Flash Gordon was like, dude.
Flash was fun. I liked Flash only because I was able to give it my own personal flavor without mouthing somebody else's words. But in a weird way, Tuxedo Mask I found was more fun only because I could rest on the fact that somebody else did it. So if anybody has said it sucked, I could always say, "Oh, well, it wasn't really me. I was just voicing it." You know.
Yeah, that's just great stuff. You know, it's funny. Like I'm channeling young me, and I gotta give a big shout out to my buddy Scott from elementary school because we were the only two guys that really liked Sailor Moon, but wouldn't publicly admit it. Like we're kind of in the
Oh,
same.
there's so many, man.
Yeah.
There were so many brothers who had the controller and just couldn't seem to press the channel to change it, you know? Like there was a lot of people who kind of underground loved the show, but you know, because of society, they just weren't able to voice it.
Well, I should reiterate though, Scott was like one of the cool guys. So he said, "Yeah, I like Sailor Moon. So what?" I was the dork who was terrified that at any point I would get canceled by the cool kids. So yeah. So everybody out there, you know, believe in yourself, like a PSA at the end of Sailor Moon and stuff like that. Watch the cartoons and don't let your own ideas about yourself. It's not even like anybody told me, "Hey, Sailor Moon's lame. Why you're watching that?" It's kind of like I built it up myself. It's crazy.
And
But
even if someone did say that,
Yeah,
that should
but
just be.
kids are hard on themselves though.
yeah,
If someone
So
did say it
go
was
ahead,
lame,
Nesbitt.
then who cares?
yeah. That's true.
Right.
That's true. Okay, so you are still chums with many of the cast members and stuff like that. I've
Yep.
met you amongst Linda Ballantyne, Katie Griffin, Susan Roman, who played the Sailor Scouts and stuff like that. How was your relationship then and now? Like, what was it like? What was it like knowing each other then, where you're like, we're all working on this weird thing. That's cool. And then
Well,
later on, you're like, can you believe everybody likes this weird thing we did?
yeah, no, definitely. We all had that realization because, like I said at the time, we had no idea it was going to be anything like this or have the legs that it has had up until now. And because also most of us only recorded separately. I think Linda and Katie went into the booth a few times for some scenes that needed that kind of back and forth. But most of us actually just high-fived in the hallway as we were passing. And
Oh,
in fact,
that's nice.
a lot of the people I didn't really even know. You know, I'd be in an audition and someone would mention Sailor Moon, like, "Oh no way, are you in Sailor Moon?" Like, "Yeah, me too." What? You know, so like a lot of it was kind of very separated. But flash forward to, I think, you know, there was one time in the early days we had some of the cast members were asked to go to, I think, University of Ottawa to do kind of like it was, and this was before Comic Cons. This was before people were dressing up at Comic Cons. In fact, it would be weird if you were dressed up at a Comic Con, which is so strange to say. But yeah, we went and did kind of a, you know, I guess a talk, and it was a really interesting experience. They trained us out there, and I think Katie Griffin was there, Kristen Bishoprick was there, and yeah, a whole bunch. And I think that kind of started the friendships that had blossomed now over some time now. And I think the core crew, like Linda Ballantyne, Katie Griffin, Susan Roman, you know, and myself, had really done some serious travel together, and we've had a wonderful friendship throughout it.
Tuxedo Mask. I gotta say right now, as I bring up this photo, Tuxedo Mask was many people's first crushes when it comes to animation, and he didn't need no belly shirt or crop top like Flash Gordon to get all the girls. But it's funny that arguably Flash Gordon was like, the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, like, stud muffin, but at the same time, everybody always remembers this Tuxedo Mask character.
Why his name was Flash Gordon? Because he flashed those luscious abs?
Yes, exactly. So Toby, as I look at this picture of Darian / Tuxedo Mask, you've been meeting people at events and conventions. What's one of the weirdest things anyone's ever asked you to do in person?
Well, I've actually had marriage proposals, believe it or not.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've had two bona fide marriage proposals.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm married. I have 3 kids, so that's just not going to be a thing.
No.
But yeah, one was at LA Anime Expo. We had I think there was 5,000 people in the room, and just before we were leaving, this very well-meaning girl just bawling her eyes out asked me to marry her. That's like, oh my gosh, I need to get some water. This is really weird. But yeah, but you know what though, the fans are very, very passionate, and there's a lot to our fandom that I have to be very thankful for, because without the fans, and I know you hear people say all the time, but I mean, I'm not a star or anything. So for me to have any attention on myself for something that I did way, way, way back, I have to understand that this is something that is a bit of an institution,
Yeah, for sure. I definitely got to give a shout out as we're talking about all this to my friend Jess K and Lindsay and Tanya, like all these OG Sailor Moon fans from back in the day.
They love that program so much.
Yeah. Even Jess K asked on Instagram, she's like, ask him why he always showed up so late. I'm like, well, I know he can't actually answer that, but I definitely wanted to give Jess the shout out she deserves. Toby, would you?
Well, I can answer you this. I can actually answer why I was so late. This is one of my theories. Is I wouldn't always have a rose on hand, so I'd have to whip out to either a convenience store or my personal garden on top of my roof, and that takes some time. Sometimes elevators take a while.
It's true. It's all true.
That's a great. Okay, Toby, you mind if we get into some fan questions?
Yeah, I love that.
All right, everybody, just to let you guys know, we are not just on Facebook and YouTube, and right now we're going to be checking YouTube comments as well as the live Facebook comments, but in order of, a seniority, if you asked a question a few days ago, we are asking that first. Follow us on Instagram, everybody. And by the way, Toby, you are at Toby Proctor on Instagram, correct?
Correct.
And on Twitter and all that stuff? Like, where can people find you online?
I'm pretty sure. I think it's just at Toby Proctor, pretty much across the platforms.
Awesome. All right, the first question we got is from Nadia. She says, did he ever have an emotional moment when recording Sailor Moon?
Okay, I did. However, it's probably not the emotion that you're thinking. There was one time where I may have eaten something a little bit funky, and I wasn't feeling very well. And let's just say that it was best that the person that went in after me might have wanted to air out the room for a second.
I know what that's like all too well.
All right, Toby.
I'm being honest here. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Better to be honest than dishonest, especially doing this.
And better out than in. That's what Shrek says.
Oh my God, I missed you so much, Nesbit.
Oh, I missed you too, Ryan Stick from television.
All right, Toby. Next question. This one's from Jimmy. He says, another great guy. I got to meet him a few years ago at a local Comic-Con, and if I remember correctly, he has a funny story about the number 4. Do you have about the number 4?
Okay, yeah. I think okay. So I think this goes back to there must have been a question. What was this one of your strangest jobs? And one of my strangest voice jobs was I got a call out of nowhere that I got basically a direct booking, which means that I didn't audition for it, which is a rare thing to get, but it's also a gift, right? Basically out of the sky pops a job, and that's great. So all of a sudden I get told I'm going to be going down to King Street in Toronto to do this job, and I'm super excited. because a direct booking makes you feel pretty great. And then on the way there, I start to get terrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what the job is. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read it. It could be like this much copy and jargon that it's like, I'm not good at all like the cell jargon, like, 1-800-9 blah, blah, blah. So I hate that stuff. Right. And I was just fearing the worst. So I get there, I sit down, I'm like, now my anxiety is like wearing me like a fur coat. And so I'm sitting there, and this girl comes down very nice, like, hey, Toby. Said, yep. And she goes, okay, come with me. I'm like, good stuff. How's everything going? I'm just basically trying to bilk her for information. She's like, oh yeah, no, it's pretty good. I said, so what do we have to do? Oh, don't worry, it's really easy. I'm like, oh, that's good. Still no information. And we're going up like fire escapes and around whatever. Finally, I've asked her like 3 times. So what are we going to do? Oh, no, it's all easy. So I get into the booth finally, and I put on the headphones, and there's usually a window where you see the engineers throughout, with the soundboard and the director, and then they click on the mic. Like, hey, Toby, how you doing, buddy? I'm like, hey, I'm real good. So what are you doing today? I'm like, oh, click. Don't worry, it's gonna be real easy. I'm like, nothing. So finally, I'm like, oh gosh. And usually there's a piece of paper there for you, right, where all the stuff is going to be. And I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to get a little worried. And then finally I said, okay, so basically in this campaign, I think it's for BMO or whatever, there's the announcers doing all the other talking, except for we only need you to say the word for. I'm like, are you kidding me? He said, yeah. And he said, say it for me. I said, for. He said, that's great. Can you get one for safety? So I went, for. He goes, all right, come on out. You're done. And I was like, what? So as I'm signing the sheet for contracts out, I actually thought it was a hidden camera because I thought they were punking me because it was like too easy. And it only got to be by the time I got down to King Street and I had walked far away from the building where there would be no camera covers. I'm like, I can't believe that was real. And I literally said the word for. Yeah. And I think I tried to do the math. I think if it was per hour for how much I worked, I would have made like $500 or $500,000 an hour for that job if it was per time. But yeah, it was pretty interesting job.
Wow. That's amazing. Hey Nesbitt.
Yes.
I just realized your microphone is at the TV.
That's fine. My voice travels.
I'm wondering how did everybody hear your voice?
It's that puppet magic,
Our production. Crap. It's great. Okay, Toby. So we got more questions.
I would have said in that situation, I would have said, what's this for? That's what I would have said.
Oh, what is for? Okay, I got it. What is this for? All right, Patrick, a big shout out to a dude named Patrick. I know, great guy. He asked some questions, and you have such a passionate fan base and a knowledgeable fan base, and it's kind of funny. They're all probably screaming up to their eyeballs every time I get something wrong. You were on the show once, and you and Linda were on the show, and I used the wrong clips, and your fans chewed me out for like 2 days and stuff, and I'm like, I interviewed him while working. I'm surprised this is on the internet now. Give me a break. But you have such a fan base.
I actually remember that.
Yeah, you have such a fan base.
I remember calling and telling me like, your fans are vicious. I'm like, sorry.
Vicious.
Like,
I've never seen anything like it. Okay, super fan Amanda. Great lass. In fact, I'm probably gonna ask you to do a shout out to her later, just because she's so nice. She said when we mentioned you were coming on the show, she said, amazing. What was it like voicing a character that so many people are attached to? Many girls, and I'm sure some boys, had crushes on Tuxedo Mask and still do. Sorry. Okay. She was just mentioning that she liked Tuxedo Mask way more than Moonlight Night and all that kind of stuff. She says your voice is amazing, and a large part of the transformation of Tuxedo Mask is so appealing. It's because of you, and he loves his cape and his rose. Well, Amanda, given that lovely declaration, is that the right word?
Declaration, yes.
Declaration. Toby, would you mind giving Amanda a shout out in that signature beautiful voice that everybody knows and loves?
Hey, Amanda, it's Tuxedo Mask calling. And boy, I just got to say, believe in yourself. And thanks for watching.
Oh, God. It cut off. Say that one more time. she'll be
I'll
so
do
sad.
something better anyways. That was terrible.
Okay.
Amanda needs something more personalized than that. All of her heart behind that.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Hey, Amanda, it's Tuxedo Mask calling. Thank you so much for all your love and all your support throughout all the years. Believe in yourself.
Oh, that is
Aww.
just that warmed my heart.
That was lovely. Thank you so
beautiful.
much, Toby. That's great. Okay, Catherine.
It's always the take ways, right?
Yeah. Catherine says Toby's such an outstanding guy, such a pleasure to manage. When she managed your line at Montreal Comic Con, please tell him that some random woman with lots of children says hi. Well, hello, Catherine. This is.
Is that supposed to be like a message that they're his or something?
Otherwise known as Wednesday.
Okay, Blair Farrell, he asks great questions. Okay, so his question would be to ask if you have any memories recording Mega Man Legends 2, specifically recording with some of the other actors that voice some really over-the-top characters like Bill Bots and Teasel. I don't know what any of these things are, but what was the like recording Mega Man Legends, dude?
Well, in fairness to you, this was at a time when I was working quite a bit, and literally things were flying under my nose, and just like I was just like getting like papers, putting like in front of me, read it and done. And in fact, I was at a Comic-Con in 2013 in Alabama. I think it was Comic-Con, and we're signing stuff for Sailor Moon, blah blah blah. And then this guy slides a Mega Man CD or a DVD too, I think, in front of me. I'm like, hey, that's cool. And he's like, well, you're in it. And I was like, what? And didn't even know. And then, because that's a funny thing about voice work, that there's a lot of times when you're doing projects, you don't get to see the final, like, you don't know. We're like, as the actor, a lot of the times we don't get footage. We don't get like screeners of anything we've done. So I don't know. And so I was like, I'm in this? He goes, yeah, man, you're Glide. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So I remember signing my very first Mega Man, I think it was Legends 2 DVD as Glide, first time ever. And I was just, it was so funny to me. But it's like, boy, it just goes to show you how crazy this business can be, right? Like the fact that I could be a part of something and have no clue.
Yeah, I remember everything I've ever been into the second because it hasn't been much. So good for you for being so successful that you can have a selective the Finding Nemo effect when it comes to your career. So that's fantastic.
That's right.
All right, moving right along.
Yeah.
Steve is asking, is there a character Toby wishes that he could have voiced in the past? Any character from a newer series or wish you could have been a part of?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question.
There must have been some character out there where you're like, "Ooh, I wanted to be that guy."
Sure. Well, I mean, I was a big Simpsons fan growing up. Right? Any of the Simpsons, like Otto or Homer, all those guys, Marge, like those are like quintessential, you know?
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, hey, Bert. Don't fail I failed the fourth grade 3 times. Look at me, man. Now I drive the bus.
That was unreal.
Oh man. Okay. Oh, now, Sarah, I'm gonna see if I pronounce your last name correctly, but I would just like to say that Sarah has been more than handy when it comes to knowledge about Sailor Moon, history, and all that stuff. She is an encyclopedia. So a big shout out to Sarah. Sarah, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Sarah Dostal. Question for Toby Proctor: would you ever write a book about your time voicing Darien on Sailor Moon? And have you had a chance to watch the Viz Media dub?
Okay, so I'll answer it backwards. I actually haven't watched the Viz Media dub. I've met a lot of the people in it, like Robbie Damon, who's doing Tuxedo Mask now. Very nice guy. I met him in Los Angeles very briefly, and we have had some back and forth on social media. And some of the new casts are lovely. I have not watched the new one. Not even for any particular reason. I just haven't really done it. I'm sure there's gonna be a time where I want to sit and do it at the house right now. And actually it would be a good time for me to watch it now, thinking about it. But yeah, no, I haven't really seen that. But and what was the other part of the question? It was
Would you ever consider writing a book about your time on Sailor Moon voicing
right.
Darien?
Yeah, it's funny. There have been a few people within the cast that have approached a few of us to kind of write in kind of memoir form our experiences, and that I'm sure it might be an interesting thing. I really haven't given a lot of thought, but hearing questions like this every once in a while does kind of put a little bug in my ear because I think it could be cool. There was definitely some elements that were that you wouldn't get from a Comic-Con Q&A that would be kind of neat to delve into. There was some really interesting moments doing the role, and I think even more so, to be honest, meeting the fans after the fact, I think has been even more emphatic than doing the job itself. Because yeah, exactly right. Because we were just kind of speaking into a void at the time. We didn't really know what it was going to be or how it was going to be, transposed in kind of everyday life for some people. And yeah, I think it would be. I would consider it. It would be cool. I'm not the greatest writer in the world, so I'm definitely going to have somebody help me, like Grammarly and every other spell check.
I'm the worst, man. Like I think I proved to everybody here today that reading is not my bag.
But you read more books than anyone I know.
I do read a lot of books, but nobody can tell how badly I read them in my own head.
Ryan likes those wrestling autobiographies. Those are the wrestlers.
I really do. It's true. Okay, moving right along. Now we're moving to the live Facebook feed, everybody. What's going on? Okay, we have a whole bunch of activity here. Matthew says, hey, Toby. Big shout out to my friend Pamela. Pamela says, shout out to the best guests she ever got to hang with at MCC, Toby and Linda. The best guests. You and Linda are a dynamic duo. You guys were a fighting force of positivity, and everybody who met you walked away literally floating. How did you and Linda seem to have known each other forever, but I think that you had ducked out of Sailor Moon by the time that she got on, right? So when did you guys come face to face and say, oh my God, let's be best friends, let's fight crime, solve mysteries possibly?
I think Fan Expo 2013, I was asked to do it with the crew. And I was beside Linda for the whole weekend, and we just realized that our humors were so in line, and we spent most of the weekend like belly laughing. And it turns out we didn't realize this, but we were in a milk commercial together because there was a whole bunch of actors within the same commercial, and she's in it with I think her firstborn, and I was in it as a football player. So we technically did work with each other even before Sailor Moon. But didn't quite know it. But we got to just really enjoy each other's company, and we got to know each other's families very well. And so it was kind of a match made in entertainment heaven, because she's really, really good with fans and good with people. And I really admire that, because I always am shocked in people in any position of this are kind of not the nicest people, or they try to play it too cool. And she definitely is not that person. She's the person who will wait to the very end to speak to the very last person.
Yeah.
I'm also in agreement with that. You got to do that, because there's no reason for you to. I mean, the only reason we're there is because of them. And so her and I have traveled the world. We've been to Malta together. We've been, as a group, we've been to Australia for OzCon, and tons of the States and stuff like that. But yeah, we've flown on about 100 planes with each other. So we definitely, I know how she sleeps on planes, and how noisy she can be. She'll kill me for saying that. She doesn't sleep in the plane.
Oh man. All right. Moving right along. Sarah, like I said before, Sarah, who is just knows so much about all this stuff. She said, hey, Toby, oh my gosh, I love you. We once talked on the phone when I had my baby. She is now coming up on 6. You spoke to me. You spoke to my friend Troy Cyback. Love you lots. Well, that's very sweet. Toby, can we give one of those signature Tuxedo Mask, handsome face shout-outs to Sarah and her baby.
Hey, Sarah, it's Tuxedo Mask again. It's been a while since we've talked. It's really great to hear you're doing well and taking care of that beautiful baby of yours. Thanks, Meatball Head.
Ah, lovely, lovely. All right. Sorry, just returning back to normal. Ah, ha, ha, ha. All right, cool. Moving right along, my friend Jonathan says, hey, I loved watching Sailor Moon. You're awesome as Darian in Tuxedo Mask. Jonathan is also a talented artist, and he drew something. He wants me to show you it. Now we can't really do that, but right after the broadcast, Jonathan, I promise, Toby will see the greatness.
I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, Toby will see the greatness of the power of your pen. Matthew's asking, are there any Tuxedo Mask outtakes?
Not that I know of. I'm sure there are tons if they kept it. But back in the day, it wasn't actually digital. We were recording on straight tape. So it was like they did for it to be processed, they had to put money behind it. So
wow.
I don't know. I'd love to hear if there. Oh my gosh, actually thinking about it right now, it'd be really great to hear. But I don't know because I know I said a few swear words.
That ain't gonna hurt my feelings.
I know that Toby, fans ask you all the time, like, what's your favorite episode and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to ask you that because people can ask you that at a Comic-Con. Whenever they start up and running again, people would love to see at these shows. But I will ask you, when's the first time that you saw the show fully edited with your voice in there, intro music, all that kind of stuff? Like, when's the first time you saw all this and looked at yourself and looked at Tuxedo Mask / Darian and said, damn, I'm hot?
It's funny. I was living with my friend Mark. He had the TV on and it came on, and it was the first time I had heard the theme music, and he yelled at me. I think I just so I whipped on some shorts and ran downstairs. I was like, oh my gosh, it's the show. Like, what? And then I remember sitting there watching it. I can't remember what episode it was. It must have been like in the teens because it was definitely one of my episodes. Because I started, I think, episode 11. So it might have been like 15 or 16 or something. But I do remember sitting on the couch just like in awe just to see it, because we never really get to hear or see what we did. You just do a few lines and that's it. And then to see it fully encapsulated in the production, it was cool. I remember. And then, of course, my friend was making fun of me the whole time after that.
Like friends
so
do.
he,
you were
exactly.
You were throwing roses when the song "Kissed by a Rose" was very popular on the radio.
Oh, from that delightful seal. Yes, what a singer he is. Syrupy voice.
But Toby, you're actually a really good singer. You're actually a hell of a singer too. I remember correctly. Like we sang some tunes in a very loud club in at an after party after Fan Expo. When did you start? When did you start singing? Like, how did that come about?
I actually I took singing lessons from I think the age of 7 or 8, much against my wishes. I really didn't want to take lessons, but it was a good thing for me to do. Not so much learning the notes, but also just to learn how to use your voice properly. And then I sang for a while throughout my teens, and I did some musical theater for a while before I got onto film and television. And I grew up in a household that there was a lot of singing, and so that was cool. I do love singing. I haven't actually sang in a long time. I don't know why, but it's funny. I've shifted gears a little bit because I'm a little less in the performance of acting these days. I'm more kind of behind the scenes producing and camera operating. But I do like singing. Singing is it's a good thing. I usually sing when I play guitar, but usually it's for myself. I don't really broadcast it.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe someday you'll put some video up. Cal Dodd, the voice of Wolverine from the X-Men the 90s, he was on the show last week, and he posts videos of him singing every day and the birth of these geese who who have been laid eggs on his roof and stuff like that. So it's been interesting following him daily, seeing the progression of these wonderful birds come to life. What have you been doing every day during this quarantine? To kind of like keep sane. What is your everyday challenge?
Yeah, my everyday is taking care of our kids, making sure they're happy. We actually just put up a 10-person tent in our living room for our kids. So we could have, because we couldn't really camp, so we did some Uber camping and got all their bedding inside and their hundreds of stuffies and made it look like and my wife made a fake campfire. And we've done some dress up dance parties. We had a fake prom. What else?
Are you, John Krasinski?
I want to live at your house. That's some of the coolest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Plus the singing. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm a skateboarder still, so I still go up for a skateboard when I can find an empty street. And just kind of get some fresh air. But mostly, honestly, we've been doing like puzzles and nothing too crazy. Just like that, it's kind of like going back to the 50s. We're doing board games and puzzles and drawing and it's actually nice.
Oh man,
it is.
I'm glad you bring up the skateboarding, Toby. Toby, what would you say are you more similar to? Because you've done more work than just Flash Gordon and Tuxedo Mask, obviously. I mean, you were in Police Academy, the TV series, and all that stuff. We'll bring that up in a second. But tell me, who do you find yourself more similar to? Are you more like Flash Gordon, or are you more like Darian / Tuxedo Mask / Moonlight Knight?
I think I have to admit that I am more like Flash Gordon, only because he's a bit aloof. He has crazy abs. Just kidding. And I don't know. He, just a bit more fun-loving. I mean, Prince Darian and Darian and Tuxedo Mask are pretty deep characters, and I like to say I'm like that. But in reality, I'm probably. I do like it. I like the romance side of Tuxedo Mask and Darian. In fact, that is one of the things I liked about that show is you didn't see that in any other cartoon, any type of romance or any type of chivalry, and that was kind of neat. But no, I'd have to be more a Flash guy, I think, if I had to. They also I have like the figures of Flash, and it looked a lot like me when I was 20. It was kind of funny.
Okay.
Oh, the ladies must have been swooning all over the place. I wish I had that talent, but when I try to do, well, certainly when I try to sing, I just sound like a walrus giving birth to farm equipment. But I don't have those abs either.
Oh man, Toby. So, just want to go a little bit into your live acting work. You were on the Police Academy, the series. Just tell me a little bit about that. You were behind a microphone, but then you were in front of a camera. What was working on Police Academy like?
Well, Police Academy is actually the reason why I had to leave Sailor Moon, because I basically got cast in Los Angeles. I was asked to fly. I was basically driving my friend's parents' car back from Florida to time, and I got word that an audition I had done a few weeks before kind of triggered a screen test in Los Angeles. So I was asked to go to Birmingham, Alabama, fly to Los Angeles, meet the people the next morning, do a few scenes with another actor, and within about 15 minutes, I was getting a handshake and saying, we'll see you in Vancouver in 4 days. Whoa. So I had to fly back to Alabama, then drive back to Toronto, and get on a plane to Vancouver for what I thought was going to be 6 months, because it was 26 episodes. When I landed, I was landing with Joe Flaherty from SCTV. He was one of our castmates. Oh, he is funny. And I love Joe. He's an amazing guy.
I loved him in Happy Gilmore. Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh. Yeah, the Sizzler. Well, but he was great, and we landed. We got into the van, and the guy Bob, who was driving us, really nice guy. He was like, "Oh, hey, how you guys doing?" I said, "Great. Well, we're here for 6 months." He goes, "No, you're here for a year." And I'm like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, 26 1-hours." And next thing you know, we were there for about 11 months doing Police Academy, and it's all ridiculous. I mean, the very little script. They kind of didn't know if it was going to be a kid's show or an adult show, and they kind of wobbled between that the whole season. So that was kind of its downfall. But that being said, it was probably one of the most fun jobs to shoot because I was playing the cousin to the original Tackleberry. I had a twin as well, so we were the Tackleberry twins, and our whole job was like doing cars and guns and stunts. So how can you have fun doing that kind of stuff, right? So that was kind of, as far as a live action job, it was a dream job for sure.
Amazing. It must have been hard to give up the gig of Sailor Moon. Did you know Sailor Moon was popular when you were recording and stuff like that, or is this only like a hindsight thing?
No, I knew, actually. I knew when I had to tell them that I had got the role for Police Academy because it was through Warner Brothers, and I was trying to make it work that I could fly back and forth to Toronto for it, but the schedules were they just couldn't make it work, and Sailor Moon, it was their schedule that was kind of too demanding, and the Warner Brothers wasn't going to be able to release me as much as they needed to. So I initially offered my brother, because my brother, before he was a police officer, he was an actor and a very fine one as well. And we have almost the exact same voice, so he could totally do what I did. But they wanted to recast, and I was like, all right. But it could have been bridged, I think, with very, very little interruption have they used my brother. But that's nepotism, so what can you say?
Well, would that mean that you'd have to cover for your brother on the force?
You don't want that. You don't want that.
Just giving a big shout out to Jen Raby, one of the finest people I know.
Jen's a great lass.
Multi-talented, so hardworking. Jen Raby, I think the final shout out I would like you to give for the day, I would please, as Handsy McHandsome Face, but this time around we'll do the Moonlight Night. Can you give Jen Raby a shout out? She's just such a doll.
Jen, this is the Moonlight Night, and I'm standing somewhere in a tree for no reason at all. But from here, I can see that you're a good person.
Did you change, like Darian is, it's spoilers, it's more of his spirit, it's not actually. My friend Elisa is asking, what did you like better playing, Tuxedo Mask or Moonlight Night? Because it's kind of a different dude. He's,
Well, between with those two and like Tuxedo Mask, I think.
Yeah.
I found the bravado of Moonlight Night was quite fun, but Tuxedo Mask is I mean, it was kind of the showstopper. But I really like playing Darian because I'm not really a jerk by trade, and it was so to actually have to play it like like every once in a while saying like mean things to Serena. It was so weird to get to say that kind of stuff because I'd never in real life say that.
Ryan's sister's name is Serena.
She is. My sister's name is Serena, so whenever you said anything crappy to Serena, I'm like, yes.
He's enjoying it.
It charged me like a battery. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh man. Okay, Toby. So we're almost out of time. We don't want to take up all your time. But to everybody who's watching and all that stuff, we would just like to thank each and every one of you for watching. Make sure you follow us on Instagram because our Instagram game needs to go up. Okay, it's at you, me, and YTV. Same thing with Twitter. Let's build this up. And Toby, like you're reluctant to attention sometime, but let's put you out there. Where can people follow you and all that stuff?
On Instagram at Toby Proctor, or I believe at Toby Proctor on Twitter. I'm not as active as I should be, and I can do more, I get. But I'll be out there.
Cool.
Have you ever done like a virtual birthday card? And in the Police Academy movies, there's Captain Harris. He's always screaming all over the place, Proctor! Have you ever incorporated that for yourself?
I should. But it is funny that was in there, Proctor, right? I love that. It was almost like destined.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming out, Toby. Like, this was been absolutely beautiful, amazing. Thanks, as always, for coming to save me with roses and care. Thanks, everyone, for watching You, Me, and YTV. This entire episode has been dedicated to my friend Scott, who was the cool kid in elementary school and gave me the courage to be like, hey, it's not weird that I like Sailor Moon. And then when I went through puberty, I'm like, of course I like Sailor Moon. Jesus, look at them.
Everybody likes Sailor Moon.
Okay, right before we go, just to start some beef and spill the tea, who is your favorite Sailor Scout?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
that's
some scorching
cruel.
tea
That's
there.
cruel.
Yeah, well, not maybe as a character and not as a human, because that's just not nice.
That is a
I'd say Sailor
searing hot
Mars if I
question.
had to. Sailor Mars.
Yeah, Sailor Mars, ditto. I love Sailor Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter because she could beat up bullies, and good lord, I needed that as a kid. And Mars because, well, Mars was hot. Not just as a planet, but as a character. Pun intended. Yeah, whatever. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching You Me and YTV. This has been Toby Proctor. Everyone, give him a round of applause.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. This has been a blast. We will see each and every one of you for a special episode on Sunday when Sonia Ball, Sonia Ball, I should say, Sonia Ball, voice actress of the Samurai Pizza Cats. She played polyester. We're doing a special performance on Sunday. And thank you so much for Toby for coming in at the last minute and making this episode one of my favorites. This has been an absolute blast. Have yourselves a great week. And Toby, it's been wonderful to see you, buddy.
Thanks. Thank you. And thanks, Nesbitt.
Oh, thank you so much. You are just the very definition of delightful, wonderful man.
All right, everybody. This has been You, Me, and YTV Live.